Hello, we are here in Highway, Standard Mode North Spawn for a Lighthouse Hall of Fame film from the European server with a new inductee into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Laatikkomafia. I have no idea if I said that right. Laatikkomafia. It is T37, so a tank we haven't seen a lot of so far, but those entries will pile up over time. We have one artillery apiece, one scout apiece, only 2 mediums and 2 TDs on the enemy team. Excuse me, 3 mediums, and 5 mediums, 2 TDs on his team. The rest are heavies, so they have a small mobility advantage, especially since it's 2 Cromwells against 1. And he's on the side of the map that favors scouts more than the other. No idea where he's going to go here. I know he's coming over this way. I don't know if he's going to go to the corner spot. Looks like he's going to make a run for the northwest corner. He has at least 1 medium and heavy coming with him. Now it looks like the Cromwell may come as well. And he may pull up and spot in a bush. I don't really know. We're going to have to watch. So he'll set up here just on the bank of the river for a while, see if he can spot enemies coming over to the northwest. And all the tanks I thought were going to go to the northwest corner are just spotting up so they can snipe. Nobody's going to the northwest corner, which probably isn't the best thing in the world right now. But if the enemy goes up there and peeks out and doesn't see anybody and starts coming across the A line, they're in for a rude surprise. They're going to have a lot of guns trained on them. And so Laatikko's getting impatient. He's going to go over to the west, get a better look at what might be over here. The enemy team has people complaining about their team being stupid, so you think that's a clue maybe that nobody went this way. And then the other Cromwell's way up in the middle and seeing nobody, so this side of the field is completely empty. All the way down into the spawn area, there's no tanks, which means that AMX is most likely unguarded. For some reason, the teams back at his spawn, the heavies in particular, are still sitting there not realizing the significance of what they're seeing on the minimap, and that's people. There's nobody there to shoot. Get out of there and go do something useful. So he sees the Jagdpanzer IV, there's the Arty, and there's also a 3001H over there. That guy's AFK, but he's going to take him out. Haven't had too many AFK tanks in this rendition of the Hall of Fame, so previously in the older one there were several battles where people killed AFK tanks, and my feelings on those are it doesn't matter if it's AFK or not. If there's nobody else threatening to shoot you where you're at, take the AFK guy out, because even though he's not playing, and unless he has a bot program that will shoot back at you, his eyes still see you. So if you want to be able to move around in back of the enemy and be stealthy, you have to kill the AFK tank. Now, like I said, if there's somebody else that's actually playing that's a threat to you, deal with them first and then come back to the AFK tank last. But if there's nobody that is capable of shooting you, kill the AFK guy, and then you can move around without being visible to the enemy. It only makes sense. you don't want them to see you any more than you have to. In some cases, you can't help it. But if all it takes is pouring a couple shots into an AFK tank and that lets you go invisible again, by all means do it. The life you save may be your own. So he catches the T-25 running away to his grave, basically, if he gets this blind shot. Doesn't hit it. And there's a Churchill gun carrier. Who, despite taking damage, decides to stop and give everybody even easier shots. It's amazing what people do sometimes. I'm getting shot by 2 tanks. It didn't look like he got tracked. Maybe he did. Let me stop and just make sure everybody can hit me and put me out of my misery. Even though I'm ahead in the game and will probably win if I stay alive. Oh well, screw it. Let me just die. Well, like I said, maybe he got tracked. I didn't go back and see it, so maybe he stopped because he was tracked. I didn't see. The 2 heavies that never left spawn now come into play as the broken east flank advances against them. The 1 medium is just, I decided to go cap, I guess. He's going to come in on the side of the KV-1 and get some good shots. Good flanking shots right here. And he just stays here and waits to see if the KV-1's ever going to turn his turret toward him. Nope, got a fire, backs up behind the ridge, and he's out of the line of fire for the OI experimental. Exactly what he wanted to do. If he had tried to get behind the KV-1, then he wouldn't have been able to get away from the OI experimental and he would have given up hit points. So he played it to where if he had to, he could just back up and be out of this heavy's line of fire. Worked out well. Now there's another OI back there. In this case, he's already committed. The guy's looking the wrong way. He just beats him to the last shot. Now there's an OI to deal with. And he's going to use the experimental as a shield while he takes out the Tiger. He's trying to he'll get it this shot, I bet. Yes. Now he's just going to circle the OI, which shouldn't be too much of a difficulty for him. Get around, get around. No, he crossed over the gun. The guy got carried away. He crosses back over and he just keeps moving and getting this guy to not be able to fire. And he gets a fire himself. This guy's going down. Out. That was pretty funny. He was just dancing with his gun. Every time he brought his gun to bear, he would change direction. And the OI never just squeezed the trigger. You'd figure after the 2nd or 3rd time he'd know what's coming and just squeeze and get the hit. But he never figured it out. Sometimes heavies make you wonder if there isn't negative IQ on the chart somewhere and that they've been blessed with. Because he had every ability to take a shot and make a hit, and he just somehow couldn't figure out how to do it. Meanwhile, Laatikkomafia is just saying, okay, if you're going to react that slow, I'm just going to dance with your gun and crossover, crossover, crossover while I reload, and now you're dead. Bye. He ends up with 4,038 points of damage, 5 kills, 36 of 42 shooting, that's 86%, 521 spotting damage, because when he set up the passive, there ended up being nobody basically on that whole side of the map, at least in the northern half. Got 0 spots, earned 50,372 credits, and got 2,621 XP. Survived the fight, got high caliber, tank sniper, fighter, fire for effect, and bruiser mini medals, and ends up with a battle score of 2,686, which puts him into 2nd place on the T37 list. So he starts off going over here, not a bad idea, going to the bush. He has lots of support behind him. And he waits and nobody shows up. The Cromwell gets impatient and runs down into the middle of the map and sees nothing, just as he's pulling into the northwest corner and sees nothing. So I was like, oh my god, they sent nobody west at all. So they race down to the south, find some tanks. He takes out the Jagdpanzer IV because he can, and it lets him progress further down the map without exposing himself to the enemy. So it's actually a smart play. I know some people give you flack for killing the AFK tank, but there's valid reasons for doing it. They can still see you. You don't want them to see you when you're trying to sneak around behind enemy lines, so take them out. And then they just moved over here and started mowing down other tanks. You saw actually what he did on the OI experimental, the way he stopped right at the edge of the ridge. The other heavy was coming up. He knew that once that guy got into firing range, he could just back down over the ridge and be safe. And he managed to take out the OI experimental just before he had to do that. But he was set up perfectly to back right out of line of fire and never expose himself to taking damage. And then he was able to move in on the OI and just use, at first, another great thing he did, he used the OI experimental Hulk, the tank he just killed, as cover from the OI while he helped take out the Tiger down farther in the edge of town. Then he pulled out and was going to circle the OI, kind of had a crossover, and then he just repeated the crossover several times and ended up with the kill. And it was like using enemy tanks, dead tanks, as shields is really a good thing to learn how to do and be aware of the potential to do that. It allowed him to get some extra damage before he progressed to killing the guy who was actually in close to him. There's a lot of different times when you're engaged in a battle where you can do things like that. And so be aware that those situations exist and try to recognize when they do. It's a way to earn you an extra 200-300 points of damage, which ends up being more credits, more XP, and helps you get wins and helps you get into the Hall of Fame. Happy hunting.